Oh yay indeed, welcome back to Shed Tune and part 5 of the engine build, and today we're doing gearbox stuff. The complex world of shimming your gearbox, sorting your Layshaft out and your various other bits and pieces. Clearly we have a painting professional. Before you say anything, yeah, I've had a haircut. All one of them. So we're going to start off by looking at the end plate, because if it's new you've got to put a bush in it, goes in there, and obviously a bearing that goes in there. So I'll show you how I do that. Same principle as before. Heat into both areas and then use a drift to knock them in. We'll put some heat into it, see how we get on. Check the old temperature. Ooh, that's nice and hot. So don't forget when you're doing this, because this is cast, there we go, straight in. So that's got a seat further down so that you can see the groove for the circlip. So we're just changing the heads on the drift. We're going to work our way. Right. So there you go. You can probably see that now. Hopefully you can see that anyway, that there's a groove for a circlip. When you put this bush in, it's got to go in the opposite way round to the bearing, obviously, so it goes in like that. Sometimes it's easier to use it in a vise, sometimes it'll tap in. Now what you've got to remember is you just put a bearing into that and that's red hot even with gloves on. So I'll gently tap that in, and sometimes if you can get it onto a flat surface like that, you can give it a little tap with the hammer and it will go in, but obviously I need 2 hands to do this, so I'll be back in a minute. Right, so that's right in, as you can see it's flush with the case and it should stick out the other side. Just got to put the circlip into that bit in there, and then that's that end plate done. So I thought I'd lay out all the bits and pieces that I'm going to be using today and some of the tools I'm going to be using, because if you've ever rebuilt a gearbox or built a gearbox from scratch, you'll know it's quite tricky, and there's a few bits and pieces, tools that you can use along the way to help you. So as I just said, one of the most important things we're going to be doing when doing all this is looking at the tools, and the tools that I'm going to use for this job are a square, the pullers for the end plate, so I've got a spacer and a washer that I use to pull the Layshaft in, or you can use the rear hub. This is a rear hub tool. Really important, plastic bag, and obviously not just any old crap, a Waitrose plastic bag, and that will become apparent. And probably the most important tool that I'll use with this is my digital vernier. This is my new one. I treated myself to this at Christmas. I thought my son was going to buy it, but alas no. But there you go. And we'll be using this to measure gearbox shims and various other bits and pieces and make sure everything is set correctly. Right, Layshaft, here we go. Sliding dog, Layshaft, 2 ball bearings and a spring and a plastic bag. And the reason for that is because springs are quite tight, and when you try and put them ball bearings in and get that sliding dog down, they tend to ping off everywhere. So if you do it inside a plastic bag, if they do ping anywhere, then you'll obviously be able to save them. So on the bottom of the dog you'll see that there's 2 cutouts, and the idea is that you slide that down, the ball bearings catch into there and then push in, and sometimes it works straight away, other times it'll be a pain in the bum. So there you go, ball bearings in like so, cutouts onto there. Okay, and what you're trying to do is push them in. We're going to do it inside here because no doubt they'll ping out everywhere. So there used to be an old trick where you could use another sliding dog to push down but I tend to find if you get this right, and the ball bearings stay in, which that one hasn't, it fell out already, you can normally get it done quite quickly, otherwise you'll be here for ages. Okay, try again. Ball bearing into there, sliding dog down to there. Whoops. Okay. That's got it roughly where we want it. We'll put it back in here. Oh, no, it's coming out again. Oh, you bastard. Right, okay, well that pulled on better than I thought it was going to do. So we didn't need the bag today. But there you go. One sliding dog on the lay shaft, nearly ready to fit. That's the lay shaft pushed in with the oil seal. Okay. The thing is that we need to do now is we need to get that pulled as tightly as possible and torqued up. So there's two choices. You can use a spacer like so with the nut on there and then torque it like that. That's one I've made. Or if you haven't got that, you can use the original hub. Put the cone on, the washer on, torque it up, and then that pulls the lay shaft through tightly so that when you shim the gearbox up, it's correct. If you don't do that, you won't shim the gearbox properly. Spins nice on the bearing. And then what we're going to try and do now is fit that. Another pain in the arse job is the gear selector arm and horseshoe. Now I've modified these because these normally have some stupid little circlips, but I've got the ones with bolts on rather. They tend to last longer and not fall apart. So without further ado, the joy of this bit. Right, so I've taken this out again just to show you. So this needs to be in second gear because when you put the arm and the shaft in and this locates into here, then this arm needs to be pointing towards this stud hole, 90 degrees. The gear selector is in. Notice how I've put plenty of oil in because everything's dry beforehand and during the process. So that's roughly where it is. I've got to put the pinch bolt in. And then as you can see, the arm is there, which is near enough in line with this. Obviously they do line up slightly different. Might be able to get that round one more spline, I think. And then we'll torque the lay shaft in and we'll be ready to slide the gears on. I've decided to go with the rear hub on so that we can torque this up because it's got to be, if you refer to Sticky's book, rear hub nut, a minimum of like 110, 120 pound-foot that is. And obviously trying to hold that without a holding tool is going to be pretty difficult. There you go, put a bit of rag on the holding tool. It's now fitted. I can now torque it up. Next, we can put the loose gears in. If you're not sure, fourth gear, you can see there's a big ridge on it. Face up. Fourth. Third gear, big ridge of it, face down. Same with second, face down, big ridge. Yeah, and that's how you can see it's in second gear. Then first gear, obviously with the kickstart. So now what we can do is we can put the shim on, get the end plate and offer it up and start measuring. So the next bit we've got to do is everyone's nightmare, shimming the end plate. So these are all my shims in size order. So I've already measured every single one of these, so I know and written on them exactly what size shims they are. 2.03, 1.9, etc, etc, etc. And what we'll do is we'll start off with, I think, the 2mm shim. 2mm or maybe a bit bigger. Tell you what, we'll go halfway. About a 2 point. Should we go point? 2 point. 2 point. We'll go 2.4, and we'll see how we get on with that. So that literally goes onto there. Then the end plate's got to go on. You've got to torque the end plate down. So I believe in the sticky manual, if you look in the back, all the torque settings, it says, probably, there we go, and it says quite clearly there, end plate nut, we've got newton meters, so 14 to 17 for us, or 9 to 11 if it's an Indian one, or 14 to 17 on an MB one. So we're going to go on the Indian one. So I'll put the shim in, and I've just loosely done these up, I haven't tightened them right up, and I can feel already that it's really tight. And when I try and get the feeler gauge in there, and I'm going for the smaller end, it ain't going in there. So that shim's too big, which is one of the joys. So what we'll do is we'll come back once we've found the right size shim and explain exactly where we are. So this is what we need the pullers for. So what these do is they wind in and lift the end plate off. There we go. And you just keep winding and winding and winding. And what that'll do is it will lift it off the studs. There you go, you can see it lifting that side. And as you try and do them equally, it should lift it out. If not, this end tends to stay down. I've modified the screwdriver with a little hooky bit to get underneath to allow me to pull. Dead easy. So every time that you shim it and torque it, you've got to pull it off again, which is why people hate doing it. So just while it's apart and before I change this shim, what we're trying to do when we measure it with a feeler gauge is get between this shim, okay, and this bit here. That's the clearance you're looking for between here and here, not under this bit, this bit. Right, we're at 2.41. Let's try 2.2. We've ended up with a shim that's 2.1, but now we've got to torque it up, and as it shows you here, they've got to be done in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the nut numbers, and they've got to go 1, 4, 6, 3, 5, 2. I'll forget that any minute now, but we'll torque it up and then check it again. Now we know what size shim we've got, we can fit the Christmas tree along with the bearing and shim, button it all up, and then, well, that's it for the arse end, I think. Right, well, that's it all done. The gearbox, the horrible shimming job, putting everything together, but we got there in the end. So perseverance, checking, using your gauge, checking and measuring everything, that's the name of the game. Bit of a pain in the arse, but it is what it is. I think that is going to be it for this one. Thank you very, very much for watching. Please give it a like and subscribe. Thumbs up, don't forget, it all helps. Don't forget we've got some t-shirts, new designs out in the merch store, so check them out in the link below. And look out for the next edition where we're going to be doing the crankshaft. I bought a second-hand one. Still got to check out to see if it's spent. But it was 60 quid off of Facebook, so there you go. I've also bought a brand new 6110 off of Daryl Taylor, which is state of the art. Anyway, next episode will fit them. Bye.